Hello Taurus, and welcome to your new November insight video. We're going to do things a little bit differently this month. So instead of me talking you through all of the cycles and shifts of the Scorpio new moon lunar cycle, I am going to talk to you about 3 of the huge planetary changes that are happening this month. So these videos, instead of just taking you through the next 4 weeks, will serve you through Jupiter's movements through Sagittarius over the next 13 months between the 8th of November and the 2nd of December 2019. The shifts of the lunar nodes, which will change signs on the 6th of November, and they're going to remain on the Cancer Capricorn axis, which is where the eclipses will be for the next 18 months. And of course, Uranus leaving your sign for a little while and heading back into Aries for a few months. So it's a potent month of shifts. We are in this 11-11-11 month, amplified this year because of course we are in an 11 year as well. So this is a time of huge change collectively and personally as we kind of find ourselves coming out of the wateriness of Scorpio a little bit, even though Venus still has to move back through there and Mercury is going to be doing the end of his retrograde there, and into the furnace of Sagittarius. So in general, we are looking at a new, expansive, fiery wave of energy coming through for us all collectively. So let's see how this is going to affect you personally, Taurus, because we know you've been doing some deep work with Jupiter over the past 12-month cycle. He entered your 7th house of relationship in October 2017, and he's been journeying through there for the past 12 months. And Jupiter in Scorpio, wherever he has been transiting in our birth chart, he has been uncovering some deep truth, some deep buried subconscious programming, shadows, fears that have been preventing us from moving forward. He has been like a light illuminating the darkest corners of our psyche. And for you, Taurus, this could have been playing out in your relationships. The 7th house is the house where we meet the other. You know, it's the house where our self is reflected back to us through the mirror of the other, of the beloved, of family, of friends, of business associates. And, you know, this is a real energy of knowing that our relationships are a tool for growth, a tool for expansion. So for yourself, you might have been going through some significant shifts as truths were revealed, or maybe you felt a craving for deeper intimacy, for deeper connection, you know, relationships that go way beyond the superficial, relationships that are loyal and committed like yourself. Scorpio is your opposite sign. And both of you, you know, as fixed signs, value steadfastness and commitment. So you might have been aware of where your relationships weren't reflecting that back for you. And of course, you know, Scorpio is all about sacred sexuality and intimacy. So maybe you've been diving deeper into that kind of tantra of the soul energy, or recognizing where your relationships weren't meeting your needs. Perhaps there has been some stuff that has come to the surface that has created some breakthroughs or breakdowns, particularly as Venus has been retrograding here for a while now as well. You know, she's headed back into Libra as I'm making those videos, but she did go through the heart of her cycle here. You know, and we had that full moon in your sign opposite the love goddess and the soul star. So really your relationships and, you know, how they reflect back to you, how valuable and how lovable you think you are, could have been up for review. as you know, as could have shared resources and finances and abundance as well during this period. So Jupiter's been doing this deep dive, and he is now shifting. He's shifting into Sagittarius, but very interestingly for you, Taurus, he is going into your 8th house, which is Scorpio ruled. So really over the next 13 months, we're looking at a similar set of lessons. Scorpio again seeks the deep soul bonding, the deep connection. Again, it's about shared resources, shared finances. But what's interesting is that Jupiter is now in Sagittarius, which is the sign of higher truth. So it's much easier for us to look at our wounds with wisdom. Whereas the 8th house, the Scorpio house, is the deeply buried parts of our subconscious, the things that we normally hide from, the things that we are fearful of, you know, old programming, old hurts, old abuses, old energies of giving away power, all can be found in the 8th house. So when we have a planet transiting here, it can be a very deep and intense experience. But for you, Taurus, you are blessed to have this in Sagittarius, because what does Sagittarius do? You know, if we think of Chiron, the centaur, as being connected with Sagittarius, we can see that he helps us transform our wounds into wisdom. So this is a chance for you to get a higher perspective on all of these old fears that have been holding you back in these scorpionic areas, you know, sex, death, occult energies, rebirth. So this gives you a higher understanding of all of these subjects. It can be a very, very spiritual time, and it can be a time of awakening the spiritual or occult gifts. So you might be finding yourself drawn to readings, drawn to tarot, astrology. You know, it can act as a spiritual awakener and amplifier as well. And this can be a time, like I said, of dealing with issues around abundance, around shared resources, you know, things that you share with a spouse, taxes, inheritance. All of these things can be illuminated and expanded by Jupiter. But this can quite often be in a positive way, because Jupiter is in his home sign of Sagittarius. So there may be new ideas, new inspirations of how to move through any blockages, any shadow material that arises. You know, you can really benefit from doing deep work with therapists or healers or anyone else that works with alchemy of the soul at this time. So huge expanded awareness. But just be aware that Jupiter is all in Sagittarius is also all about truth. So let's be aware of making sure that all of our relationships and intimate dealings and financial dealings with others are rooted in a deep foundation of truth, which is, you know, what you've been learning over the previous 12 months anyway. So this is an extension of that energy for you, Taurus, and it's very exciting. We've also got Uranus, the storm god, leaving your sign for a little while. He's back off into Aries on the 6th of November until early 2019, till around springtime 2019. So you have had a little bit of a taste since May the 15th this year of what it might mean to have the great liberator moving through your steadfast sign, you know, as I said, since May this year. So you've had a little bit of a taste of what is to come over the next 7-year cycle, because when he re-enters Taurus, he's going to stay there until 2026. But for now, for these next few months, he's going back into Aries, back into your 12th house, which is another water house like the 8th house. Both of these spaces are subconscious, psychic, receptive, feminine spaces. The 12th house is ruled over by Pisces and Neptune. So this is a time where we can think about the subconscious programming that is blocking us from doing Aries, from fearlessly expressing our authentic self out into the world, because both Uranus and Aries are all about liberation, all about freedom to be who I am. So what patterning have we got going on that is holding us back from doing that? Perhaps we are, scared of how our relationships will be disrupted if we admit our true feelings and desires to ourselves. So it's a time of breaking the chains of old karma. The 12th house is where we often hold on to our karmic ties from past lives. It's a very multi-dimensional house as well. So where do we need to liberate ourselves from these psychic enmeshments that we might be carrying? So it's a time of reflection and review before the work really begins when he comes back into your sign, Taurus, which is very exciting. So all of this is going on, within a few day period. We've got Jupiter in Sag on the 8th, we've got Uranus back into Aries on the 6th, and also on the 6th we have the nodes shifting signs. So this is very, very significant. The house that the North and South nodes are transiting in our birth chart are indicative of the areas of our life we are letting go, we are shedding, that are dissolving, and our point of evolution for the next 18 months. So since May 2017, the nodes have been in Aquarius and Leo, which of course create a natural square to your sign, Taurus. So it's been quite an intense period for you. We've had those massive eclipses, that huge eclipse, Mars retrograde in your 10th house, square to Uranus in your sign over the summer. We've had the North node in your 4th house of home and family. So we've really had, like I've said in previous videos, so I won't go over it again, but you've had all of the major areas of your life being activated powerfully and transformatively this year by Mars, by Venus, by the eclipses. So it comes to the welcome relief as the nodes shift signs. So for you, the North node moves from the 4th house, that house of home and family, where it's been calling you, roots, inner work, and the 10th house, the North node in the 10th house in Aquarius, family, career, business, purpose, focus. So you've been really working to balance those two over the summer in particular, Taurus. So now the North node comes into Cancer, the sign of the Great Mother. So this is really beautiful for all of us. We are collectively evolving through Cancer, the sign of nurturing, the sign of tenderness, the sign of love, of personal relationship, of personal connection. And for you, this node will be in the 3rd house of communication, the house that is ruled over by Mercury in Gemini, the throat chakra. So we can look at you, Taurus, really learning how to speak your truth, really learning how to voice your emotional needs and desires, speak words of intimacy, speak words of nurturing, speak words of love. This can be a time of networking, of being hungry for emotional connections with friends, with family, with acquaintances. So we can see here, with Jupiter in Sagittarius in your 8th house and the node in Cancer, there is going to be a deep focus on forming relationships that go way beyond the superficial. And Venus, your ruler, rebirthing herself and stationing direct in Libra is also indicative of that. So this can be a time when new networks, new opportunities to communicate your truth can come in. But as we have the South node in Capricorn, up there with Pluto and Saturn in your 9th house, which is the traditional Sagittarius house of higher learning, of higher wisdom, we can see that there's a lot of old programming, a lot of old truths that are being worked through at this time. Perhaps your whole belief system is being restructured and, you know, has been over the summer with Saturn retrograde there as well. So we have to keep letting go of those beliefs that keep us stuck, that keep us entrenched, because we know, Taurus, that you are a sign that seeks comfort and familiarity, very similar way to Cancer. So we have to ensure that we are, you know, not staying in situations that don't serve us because we are afraid to change. The embodiment of Uranus in your sign is security is an illusion, you know. Nothing ever stays the same, as much as we might want it to. Nothing ever stays the same. So we have to take the steps to liberate ourselves from that which is holding us back. So a very interesting cycle where your focus will be on intimacy, alchemy through intimacy even, and deep connection, deep emotional connection with other people, perhaps through your voice. So you might also be feeling drawn to speak, to teach, to write, to share your wisdom in ways that can really touch others and bring nurturing and comfort to their souls as well. So if you're you know, involved in a profession that requires you to speak or write, then this can be a very, very positive sign, because your words can really sink into the heart of other people. Anyway, I'm going to pull you a card now, Taurus, and these are from the Alana Fairchild Sacred Rebels Oracle, because Uranus is the official sacred rebel of the cosmos, and also because these cards I really feel are beneficial for those who are changing direction with their life's purpose, which is kind of what we're all doing this month. So I've broken these ones out again, so let's pick you a card. It's really interesting. Releasing allegiances. So this card, you can see she's kind of, you know, she looks a little bit sad. She's curled up. She is solitary and alone, and she is contemplating the effect that her personal relationships have on her well-being. And this can be very significant for you this month, Taurus, because of, you know, Venus has been doing her dance in your 7th house. Jupiter is finishing up his 12-month cycle there, which means he's crossing the final degree, the critical degree of Scorpio, which is traditionally a degree of letting go, around the time of the Scorpio new moon on the 7th of November. So this card is indicative that you may have to let some connections go at this time. The cosmos has been trying to reveal the truth to you, that these relationships perhaps aren't right, these associations aren't right for you, they're not serving your soul. And if you've been doing the typical Taurus thing of, you know, kind of holding on, we can make this work, then this is an indication that now is the time to release those connections, release those allegiances that are no longer working, or at least take steps to make changes, to make things move in a new and healthier direction. So it's a perfect card for this time of transition for you, Taurus. Thank you so much for listening to me. If you wish to connect with me further, there will be the links below this video for my Facebook groups and pages where I do a lot of astrological writing and updates. Have a very blessed Jupiter in Sagittarius cycle and a transformative November.